Imagine this. A baby is found in an abandoned car seat, left alone in the sweltering heat of a stranger's front yard. Hours later, 4 members of that baby's family are discovered murdered on a quiet road in Lake County, Tennessee. Police move quickly and name a suspect, but when he's caught, he makes a stunning claim. I didn't do it. I was undercover, and I was working with the FBI. So the question is, did Austin Drummond really kill this family? Or is there more to the story than anyone realizes? Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob, and this is my series Far From Fiction. If you enjoy true crime stories that are told in full detail and want to help support the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm working hard to reach 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year, and every single one of you makes a huge difference. This is my series Far From Fiction, where I take you beyond the headlines to uncover the disturbing details behind some of the most shocking crimes. These stories are real, they're tragic, and they deserve to be told with the truth at the center. Without further ado, let's get into this episode. This is Far From Fiction. It was the afternoon of July 29th, 2025 in Dyer County, Tennessee. Temperatures are sweltering, the kind of southern heat that clings to your skin and turns every parked car into an oven. Around 3:30 p.m., a 911 call comes in. A resident of a quiet rural neighborhood has stepped outside and seen something that doesn't belong. Sitting in the front yard is a car seat, and inside of it, a 7-month-old baby. At first glance, the child did appear unharmed. There were no visible injuries, but the danger was immediate. The baby had been left outside in the oppressive heat with no one in sight. Neighbors look around, but there's no car, no parent, no explanation to why this child is here. It was just a helpless infant, abandoned without any warning. Police and EMS rushed to the scene and quickly take the baby into their custody. And as officers were there, questions began to mount. Who left their child here? Why this house? Was it random or intentional? And who did this child belong to? Witnesses reported seeing what might have been a dark-colored minivan or a white SUV driving away around the time the child appeared. The authorities put out an alert, asking the public to check security cameras, dash cams, and doorbell footage for anything that might explain how this baby ended up in this stranger's yard. What no one knew at the time, not the neighbors, not the officers, not even the investigators arriving on the scene, was that abandoned infant was only the beginning of something much darker. Within hours, police would discover that the baby's 4 family members were already dead. While investigators in Dyer County were still trying to understand why the baby had been left behind, another call was coming in, this time nearly 40 miles away in Lake County, Tennessee, near Reelfoot Lake. It was in the evening of July 29, 2025, and deputies were dispatched to a rural stretch of Carrington Road, just outside the small town of Tiptonville. The scene was unsettling from the start. Carrington Road is the kind of narrow country road where cornfields feel endless, where silence is broken only by cicadas and the distant hum of passing boats on the lake. But on this night, the silence was shattered by the flashing blue lights of patrol cars. Deputies arrived to discover multiple bodies at the scene. It wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it was 4. The victims were soon identified as members of the same family as the baby. James Matthew Wilson, just 21 years old, and the father of the infant. Adriana Williams, 20, his partner and the mother of the abandoned infant. Courtney Rose, 38, Adriana's mother, and Braden Williams, Adriana's 15-year-old brother. 4 lives gone in an instant, and a baby left abandoned. Investigators quickly determined that all 4 victims had been shot to death. No arrest was made at the scene. No suspect was taken into custody that night. What had begun as a case of an abandoned child had suddenly become one of the most shocking mass killings the region had ever seen. I used to live in Jackson, Tennessee, and I used to go to Lake County for work. And let me tell you, there's not a whole lot there. So for it to be the setting for such a terrifying case, it's absolutely shocking. It's proof that anything we hear in these videos can happen to people just like you and me. For the people in Lake County, a place with fewer than 7,000 residents, this wasn't just a crime, it was a nightmare. Everyone knew someone connected to the victim, and almost immediately, the questions grew louder. Who could have done this, and why? The bodies had been found, a family ripped apart in an act of unthinkable violence. But the most chilling question loomed in the air. Who could have done this, and why spare the life of the infant? At first, investigators had no clear direction. There were no signs of forced entry at the home, no shattered glass, no broken locks. Whoever carried out these murders either had access to the home or had been invited inside. That immediately narrowed the possibilities. Detectives began retracing the steps of the final days of the victims, interviewing friends, co-workers, and neighbors. They wanted to know who had problems with this family, who had reason to harbor such rage. But the answers didn't come very easily. In fact, at first, there weren't many answers at all. What they did have was evidence. First, the home itself. Crime scene analysts carefully documented where each body was discovered and how they were positioned. The brutality of the killing suggested not only rage, but personal involvement. This wasn't a random attack. Next, there was the digital footprints. Investigators pulled phone records, financial transactions, and social media activity from the family members in the days leading up to their deaths. They were looking for strange communications or sudden, unexplained activity. Finally, there was witness statements. Neighbors reported seeing a car near the home that didn't quite fit, but identifying the vehicle wasn't immediate. It would take time to piece together. And then there was the child. Investigators theorized whoever committed the murders either couldn't bring themselves to kill a baby, or the child had been left as a cruel statement, perhaps to prolong the suffering of the family even after their deaths. Either way, it was clear that this was no random break-in. Within days, a name began to surface. A man who wasn't a stranger to the family, someone whose presence both at the home and in their lives couldn't be ignored. That name was Austin Robert Drummond. Detectives began looking closer, and the pieces started to fall into place. His life was marked with the instability from an early age. Those who knew him described him as volatile, unpredictable, and often aggressive when things didn't go his way. He floated between jobs, often unable to hold steady employment, and carried with him a growing record of run-ins with the law, and multiple sentences throughout even his childhood. By his early 20s, Drummond had already had a string of charges to his name: assault, theft, and drug-related offenses. He spent time in and out of the county jail, but each time he was released, he seemed to escalate further. His friends distanced themselves, family ties frayed. Austin became known more for his temper than anything else. One crucial piece of evidence tipped the scales. A vehicle matching his was spotted near the crime scene around the time of the murders. Combined with the witness testimonies and his violent history, suspicion turned squarely towards him. But when the investigators tried to track him down for questioning, they made a chilling discovery. Austin Drummond was gone. No one knew where he was. He hadn't shown up for work. His usual haunts turned up empty. Even his closest acquaintances had claimed they hadn't seen him. It was as though he had vanished into thin air. And so, the manhunt began. Detectives alerted surrounding jurisdictions, and Drummond's name was broadcast across the news outlets and police channels. Law enforcement warned the public. This man was dangerous, armed, and was very likely desperate. Every lead was chased, every tip investigated, but Drummond seemed to always be one step ahead. The search stretched across West Tennessee, with officers checking abandoned houses, wooden back roads, and even criminal hangouts where he might have tried to seek shelter. The manhunt for Austin Drummond turned into one of the largest in recent history. Law enforcement mobilized quickly, flooding rural roads and nearby towns with patrol units. Helicopters swept low over fields, while tactical teams scoured abandoned farmhouses and wooden back trails. Every tip that came in felt urgent. Sighting of a man hitchhiking, breaking into sheds, or even sleeping behind dumpsters sent officers scrambling. But again and again, they came up empty-handed. It was as though Drummond was a ghost, able to slip through the cracks no matter how tightly they were sealed. For most people that lived in the area, fear became a constant companion. Families double-locked their doors at night, children were kept inside, gun sales in the area spiked, with many feeling they needed protection against a man who was described as dangerous and unpredictable. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed that Drummond had been spotted in their backyards. Others swore he was hiding in barns or even breaking into homes for food. Whether those stories were true or not, the unease was real. But what disturbed investigators the most wasn't just Drummond's ability to evade capture. It was the growing evidence that he wasn't doing it alone. Surveillance, informants, and careful tracking revealed a troubling pattern. Drummond had friends, and maybe even family, who were helping him stay hidden. providing rides, supplying food, offering places to sleep, even as his face was plastered across every newscast. Derar Sanders, 23 years old from Jackson, Tennessee, was arrested for assisting Drummond. A few days prior, two men, Tanaka Brown and Giovante Thomas, both 29, were charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. It was a bold and dangerous move on their part, harboring a fugitive wanted for multiple murders, and when detectives confirmed their suspicions, arrests soon followed. Several individuals were taken into custody, accused of aiding Drummond and obstructing justice. The community, already on edge, now turned its fear into anger. Neighbors whispered about betrayal. How could anyone choose to help a man like Austin Drummond, knowing the horrors he was accused of inflicting? The arrest only deepened the sense of paranoia. If Drummond had allies hiding in plain sight, who else could be working with him? While that was going on, the net was closing in on Drummond himself, who was still at large. As the week dragged on, law enforcement knew it was only a matter of time before desperation pushed him or those around him into a fatal mistake. The search for Drummond was on, but his whereabouts were about as far as the eye could see, and then some. Some said that he went to a different state. Others claimed he still was in the area. That was until a tip finally came in that set everything apart. A local resident reported seeing a suspicious vehicle in the rural area outside of Jackson, Tennessee. Something about the car felt off. Abandoned in a spot that was too quiet, too hidden. When officers arrived, their suspicions were confirmed. Inside, they found signs pointing directly to Austin Drummond. The manhunt that had stretched across counties, across state lines, was finally at its breaking point. Austin Drummond was about to be cornered. By the end of the week, the search for Austin Drummond had turned into something that looked more like a manhunt out of a movie than a small-town investigation. The Jackson Police Department, alongside state and federal agencies, moved quickly. Curfews were set in neighborhoods, and families were warned to keep their doors locked. Checkpoints were established on the main roads leading in and out of the city. Every passing car was questioned. Every set of eyes scanned. Residents described the atmosphere as unsettling, knowing a man accused of such horrific crimes could be moving in and out of the same grocery stores, hiding in nearby woods, or even walking among them. The pressure was intense, not just for law enforcement, but for the entire community. For days, rumors swirled. Some swore they had spotted Drummond at a gas station. Others said he was moving with the help of friends. Authorities had already arrested several people believed to be providing him with food, shelter, or transportation. But Drummond himself remained a ghost, always one step ahead. The tip that broke the case wide open came from an eyewitness who had been paying close attention to news coverage. A maintenance worker was doing his rounds when he spotted a shed, and the door was left wide open. The man claimed that he made sure to never leave the doors even unlocked, let alone wide open. He had an eye on the news and knew that this dangerous man was in the area, and something in his gut told him this is where he was hiding. Police arrived at the location within minutes, and they knew they had Austin Drummond surrounded. The manhunt then turned into a chase, but it wouldn't be long before authorities captured the killer in the woods of Jackson, Tennessee. Eyewitnesses to the arrest described the moment as surreal. One person said it was like the whole town could finally exhale. For days, everyone was scared to even leave their houses. Seeing him in handcuffs was like the nightmare finally ended. After a week on the run, Austin Drummond's fight was over. He was shackled, escorted into a patrol car, and driven away with flashing red and blue lights. After weeks of silence, the world finally heard from Austin Drummond himself, sitting in a courtroom making his first appearance. Shackled and gaunt from his time on the run, he stunned many with his words.
This morning that you have before the court is one count of first-degree murder. It's alleged that on 29th of July, Mr. Braden Williams was located deceased from apparent gunshot wounds on Carrington Road in Tiptonville in Lake County, Tennessee. During the course of the investigation, it was determined that Mr. Drummond did with premeditation, knowingly and intentionally kill Mr. Braden Keith Williams with the use of a firearm. It's alleged he did commit this offense also while being in possession of a firearm after being convicted of a felony, being aggravated robbery in Madison County, Tennessee. He has one count, therefore, of first-degree murder and unlawful possession of a firearm. Second charge you have, sir, is first-degree murder and one other count of unlawful possession of a firearm. It's alleged during the course of investigation that a James Wilson was located deceased from apparent gunshot wounds in Lake County, Tennessee on Carrington Road. It was determined that you with premeditation knowingly and intentionally killed Mr. Wilson with the use of a firearm. It's also alleged, based on the same facts or circumstances, that you are a convicted felon out of Madison County. In addition to that, sir, you also have one count of first-degree murder and unlawful possession of a weapon. It's alleged that during the course of investigation, officers determined that Mr. Drummond, with premeditation, knowingly and intentionally killed Miss Adriana Williams in Lake County, Tennessee, on Carrington Road. She was discovered from an apparent gunshot wound, deceased. In addition to that, he also is a convicted felon out of Madison County, Tennessee. You also, sir, have one count of first-degree murder and an additional unlawful possession of a weapon. It's alleged during the course of the investigation, officers determined that you did with premeditation knowingly, intentionally kill Miss Courtney Rose with the use of a firearm. She was discovered deceased from apparent gunshot wounds on Carrington Road in Lake County, Tennessee. It's alleged, in addition to that, sir, as previously stated, you are a convicted felon allegedly from the county of Madison in Tennessee. Ms. Jessica, do we have the other charge? I don't have anything that didn't happen. Never mind. Sorry about that, Mr. Drummond. In addition to that, finally, he has one count of aggravated kidnapping and a possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. It's alleged that all of the victims in the case that previously were mentioned were located deceased from apparent gunshot wounds on the same date. A minor child with a date of birth 12/12/2024 with the initials WW was discovered left in the front of a residence in Dyer County, Tennessee. States that Mr. Drummond committed the offense of aggravated kidnapping by false imprisonment, which was committed to facilitate the commission of a felony or flight. It's alleged he committed this offense also possessing a firearm during the commission of said dangerous felony. When he possessed a firearm, he therefore has those counts. General Goodman, is the state moving forward with felony charges in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Mr. Drummond, I'm going to enter a not guilty plea for you at this time on your behalf, being that you do not have counsel appointed or retained to represent you. Are you going to be able to hire an attorney, sir, to represent you, or will you need me to ask you questions about your finances to appoint you an attorney?
I'm not going to be able to hire an attorney.
Okay. Sir, if you could, to the best of your ability, please raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is true, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down, sir. Mr. Drummond, prior to being taken in on these charges, sir, were you working anywhere?
I have a business, inflatable run business, kids parties, part-time shows, decorations, stuff like that.
So you were self-employed, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is what I'm going to ask you, sir. Obviously, that may vary depending on how much business you generate monthly. If you could estimate for me what your monthly income would be from that business?
It varied, but it was around $4,000 to $6,000 a month.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me, a lot of it, I was just starting up, a lot of the money's going to run right back in to invest in everything.
When did you start the business, sir?
I started LLC in February. I believe I started operations just a month or two ago.
Just a month or two ago? Okay. Sir, let me ask you, do you own a home? Do you own a vehicle? I'm sorry?
I do, it's cities right now.
Okay. Can you tell me the make and model of the vehicle, sir?
And county made through
Okay. Do you recall how much you paid for that vehicle?
$12,000.
Okay. Are you still, are you making payments on the vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have a checking or savings account, sir?
Yes.
Do you know roughly at this moment how much is in that checking or savings account?
$500.
General, I think due to the sort of the uncertainty of his business, I think that based on that and the fact he doesn't own much personal property, I think he does qualify as indigent for appointment to counsel. I have reached out previously to Mr. Brian Huffman out of Covington, and he has told me he is willing to take the appointment in this case. So what I'm going to do is appoint Mr. Brian Huffman to represent Mr. Drummond in this case. Mr. Drummond, Mr. Brian Huffman is an attorney in Covington, Tennessee. He is going to be appointed in this case to represent you, sir. We're going to get his contact information to you, and also we're going to get his information for where to contact him and locate him and be able to discuss your case with him. We'll be happy to get that to you, and we're going to send you his files we're going to send your files to his office for him to review that. Okay, General, does the state wish to be heard on bond at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, the state intends to seek the death penalty. This is a capital case. We're asking that he be held without bond. In addition to that, he has a bond out of circuit court. We have filed motions to revoke those bonds that will be heard later in the month of August in circuit court.
Mr. Drummond, what I'm going to do before I make a position on bond, I'm going to ask you some questions, sir. Folks in the state of Tennessee, bond is a guaranteed right, with the exception of one incident when it is a capital offense and when the proof is evident or is great. Based on the affidavits I have read here today, it does appear that for purposes of bond, in addition to not only what the statute says, but first and foremost that it's the court's responsibility to take into consideration the safety posed to the community, the court finds that the defendant will be held without bond and he'll be remanded into the custody of the Lake County Sheriff's Department pending all appearances and hearings in this matter.
Drummond didn't break or plead for mercy. Weeks after this, he actually spoke to a reporter about his situation from a jail phone. What he mentions does raise some questions about what if authorities captured the wrong man. He spoke calmly, insisting that the story about him wasn't the truth. He admitted that he had been involved in gangs while in prison, and that he had made some enemies. He claimed he was in the wrong place at the wrong time when the murders occurred, and that his criminal record and reputation made him an easy target to blame. He told the reporter, "I ran because I knew no one would believe me. Once you're branded, they don't care about the truth." In the last month, investigative reporters and even law enforcement leaks have began painting a picture of Austin Drummond's case. And when you look back at Drummond's own words about being tangled in gang rivalries and even being blamed for the crimes committed by others, the possibility begins to creep in. Was Austin Drummond actually innocent all along? But to me, it kind of sounds like Mr. Drummond may be a bit of a liar. Many wondered what the motive was for Austin Drummond to kill the entire family. No motive was really present until they started digging through Drummond's life. Drummond had been in and out of prison for most of his life, and although the gang life statement may have been true, there is another part of his life in prison that wasn't brought up initially. While in prison, Drummond actually began having a relationship with an officer in his prison. Her name was Caitlin Speed, and Caitlin has been very quiet since all of this happened. But why would she speak up? I mean, as far as we know, she's just an innocent significant other who is watching her boo be a part of one of the largest manhunts in recent history. That was until the family tree of Caitlin Speed was revealed. The internet, doing their digging, found that Caitlin Speed was actually the sister to one Courtney Rose, the aunt of Adriana Williams and Braden Williams, and the great aunt to Adriana's baby. While a direct motive, or even if Caitlin Speed had anything to do with the killings or orders to kill, still remain a mystery, the picture is starting to come together. It's becoming more and more likely that Austin Drummond's case is being created as we wait for the trial. Before we close out this case, I want to take a moment to remember the true heart of this tragedy. The victims whose lives were taken far too soon. Courtney Rose, Adriana Williams, Braden Williams, and James Wilson. They were more than just names in a headline. They were people with families, futures, and stories that should have never ended this way. And then there's the child, the baby who was left abandoned, defenseless, and alone in the middle of it all. Against it all, the child survived, and today I'm thankful to say that she is safe and being cared for. but the shadows of that night will follow them for the rest of their life. And after examining evidence and hearing testimonies and seeing the devastation left behind, I stand with the families, the investigators, and the community. I believe that Austin Drummond is guilty of these murders, and I believe that the justice demands he face the ultimate penalty for what he did. The victims deserve it, the families deserve it, and the child who survived deserves to grow up knowing that the person responsible for such an unimaginable cruelty was held fully accountable. We will follow this case more as events transpire. I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. This case was so chilling for me to see unfold across social media and the news. For me, it hit even harder because I lived in Jackson for 2 years, and seeing a place that I once called home become the center of a massive manhunt for a man accused of slaughtering an entire family was surreal. My own mom actually lived there up to just about 6 months ago. It's a sobering reminder that while we approach these stories with curiosity and fascination, true crime isn't just storytelling, it's a harsh reality. These tragedies don't only happen in headlines, they can unfold in our own backyards, interacting with people that we know and love. Once again, thank you for joining me on this episode. I'm on the road to 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. Every like, comment, and subscription means the world to me. It truly helps the channel grow. If you enjoyed my work here and are a fan of horror stories that keep you up late at night, don't forget to check out my new book, The Hollow Season. It's available now on Amazon. And be sure to mark your calendars for Friday night, 6 p.m. Central Time, and head back here to my YouTube channel, The Friday Night Campfire Stories, where I will be sharing a brand new sci-fi horror story called Shattered Sky. It'll premiere this Friday right here on the Friday Night Campfire Stories YouTube channel. It's a terrifying tale set on the planet of Noxus, where humanity's escape from Earth may have only been a temporary solution against the alien threat known as the Null. I can't wait to share it with you. Until then, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, and as always, stay safe, because sometimes the darkest stories are the ones that happen closest to home. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.